the merits of the cases in court, because you know that would be sub judice. Yes. And you and I want to believe you have tremendous respect for the judiciary.
Absolutely.
And their judicial decisions, but that doesn't mean that we can't disagree with their decisions. And for instance, on the housing levy, I completely disagree with them.
Okay.
Completely.
How so?
And because they say we didn't have a framework on how to implement the housing agenda. In government accounting or in government parlance, what the legislative framework that you need for implementation of whatever is budgeted for in government is in the appropriations bill. And what was in court was the finance bill. The finance bill finances the budget.
Yes.
Then I never saw anybody take the appropriations bill to Parliament. The court finding that there was no legal framework for implementation of the housing agenda was not correct in my view, because we had an appropriation bill that even appropriated the resources from the housing levy to the Ministry of Housing, or rather the Department of Housing. Therefore, I would have a problem with that, and because I'm not in court and I'm not I'm arguing for government in court, I want to believe that the lawyers will be prosecuting some of those issues before the Court of Appeal to show how, in actual fact, the judges of the High Court erred in their finding that, one, there was no legal framework, because I think the appropriation bill creates that very good legal framework. Two, the court said that the the housing levy is unconstitutional on the basis that it was being levied on a section of Kenyans who are salaried and who are in formal employment, and not being levied on those who are not in formal or employment or salaried. That, again, I would find fault in that kind of finding, because that would mean, for instance, me and you, because we are employed, we pay as you earn. The guy who sells me milk in my local kiosk doesn't pay as you earn. So do we also find that pay as you earn is a tax that is unconstitutional? Far from it. Therefore, those are issues now that we leave to lawyers and legal minds to argue out in court. But even from where I sit as a legislator and as a lawmaker, I can tell you that that kind of finding is faulty, and with all due respect to the good judges who had that kind of finding, I think they were more informed by other considerations other than the letter and spirit of the law, because probably they should even have gone beyond what was being litigated in court and then declare even pay as you earn as unconstitutional, if that is the argument, for instance. But as I said, with great respect to the good judges, let us say they had their own thinking. They are entitled to it. We leave it to the Court of Appeal and the judges and the litigants in court to argue out their cases. And I believe the Court of Appeal will have their time to listen. They can also hear what Kenyans are saying. I am sure because they also live in Kenya, they have been listening, especially through the public participation, where Kenyans are saying that they not only need the houses and even cheaper houses. In fact, if you listen to the public participation that has been going on, Kenyans are saying that we don't even want affordable housing. We want better than affordable. When Kenyans tell you that if you are a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house, I'll need to pay 20-something or 30-something thousand shillings, they tell you that is not affordable. They are looking for social housing, where you pay something like 3,000 to 5,000 shillings. That tells you there is a great need for housing as a need and as a constitutional right that Kenyans are entitled to under Article 43 of the Constitution. If you also listen to Kenyans through that public participation, you hear Kenyans talking about the job opportunities that have come around in their neighborhoods, whether it's the direct jobs in construction, in the service industry that is servicing the construction industry, whether it's transport, whether it's people who are making food vendors around the construction sites. Things that the ordinary middle-class Kenyan may not relate to. But I was I was in Laikipia in Nanyuki 2 or 3 weeks ago. This weekend I was in Meru County.
Yes.
And every construction site you go to, people appreciate that they have jobs that they would otherwise not have when those projects not there. Not hardware vendors or hardware business people who are selling hardware goods, be it cement, or transporters who are selling sand and masonry or ballast from the quarries to those sites. Even people in the manufacturing industry who are selling steel, who are selling cement, people in the manufacturing industry who are producing, paints and even paintbrushes and everything.
Yes.
Very rudimental things to the ordinary middle-class Kenyan. But things that have a huge impact to many millions of Kenyans. And therefore, it's a discussion that will continue, but I believe at the end of the day, reason will prevail and everybody will act in the best interest of the Kenyan people.
When you speak about, what you're getting from Kenyans, and when you speak about reason, there is the school of thought that argues, and I have a question here from Mashari who asks, my question, there are those who think that you're making or coming up with unpopular legislation and punitive tax regimes. Are you listening to